Joining me today on the podcast is Jiu-Jitsu black belt and inverted gear owner Nelson Puentes. Nelson discusses everything from starting his company in his parents' basement, training Jiu-Jitsu and earning his black belt, training other martial arts, injury prevention, growing his business, and traveling. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. It was great having Nelson on. Also, if you guys want to pick up some awesome gis, check out his website and pick up a gi at invertedgear.com. And also, he's got a great blog on that website as well. So, hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Thanks to Nelson for joining me. Here we go. Hey, thanks for Nelson. Thank you for coming on, man. You're out of Pittsburgh, is that correct?
No, I'm the other side of Pennsylvania. I'm in Allentown. I'm right outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Is that kind of where you've been located for a while?
I've been here for almost 2 years now.
Oh, 2 years? Awesome. Yeah, actually, I didn't know. I had Marshall on the podcast, Marshall Carper.
Yeah.
And you guys know each other. I had no idea you all knew each other. I was because I know he'd always wear your gis, and I was like, what's and then I kind of put two and two together. You guys are kind of around the same area, and I think you did some stuff for his Artichoke Media. I think you did like a
we did. I did instructional with him, and he does a lot of the marketing work for Inverted Gear.
For Inverted Gear, he does.
Yeah.
How did you all get in contact with each other?
How did we meet originally? Somebody from the school he used to be at came to visit, and I met him at my friend Emily Kwok's school in Princeton. And then they're like, oh, it's like, if you guys want to come visit, I'm sure we can host you for a seminar. You stuck to this guy, and that guy was Marshall.
Gotcha. Awesome.
And then Marshall started working, what was the name of the company? Senior Steel Games. And then they did that video game. And then I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, like the Jiu-Jitsu game.
Yeah.
So,
I remember. I forgot what it's called. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, so there was the GoFundMe, and then like Inverted Gear took one of the spots, so we're like on the splash screen.
Yeah.
I got to be made into video game character, fulfill a lifelong dream.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then, we became friends. Eventually I asked him, I was like, hey, I know this is what you do. Would you mind, taking a look at what we're doing, if you could help us out? And then, he was very professional, started telling me, he's like, okay, we work together, I think this is what we need to do, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, yes, please, help.
So pretty good relationship, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the only reason I kind of read his book, and that's what I was telling him, I read his book, and I was like, very interested in his book, and I was like, just reached out to him. I happened to talk to him. I've had him on the podcast a couple of times. He always surprises me with his level of nerddom.
Oh no, he's up there. That's I think that's why. After the first time we hung out, we're like, yes, this is gonna work.
He was on the podcast and he wore a shirt with a guy from. It was like a nerdcore rapper or something.
Oh, MC Lars?
Yes, there it is. And I was like, what are you talking? He's like, it's a nerdcore. I was like, what the hell's nerdcore? He's like, it's
nerd
it was
rap. Fascinating when I found out about it.
It's pretty funny, but I was like,
about it. I see posts on Reddit here and there, but I never realized how deep Marshall was into that world.
Dude, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, and so I actually went and listened to that MC Lars. It was pretty funny. It was interesting for sure. Man, how did you get into jiu-jitsu, man?
How did I get into jiu-jitsu? I wrestled in high school. The last 2 years of high school, I wrestled. Went to high school in New Jersey. I had a really good head coach. I was very fortunate. And I just fell in love with grappling. And when I graduated, I had a few offers from Division III schools. Uh-huh. I think my senior year, I was barely above 500, but I did make it pretty far into the region. I was in a tough region. At that time, it was either Region 3 or 5. It has changed since then, so I don't remember. But we had some tough teams. I had some wins over some kids I should not beat. So I got scouts looking at my name. So I got a few offers. My wrestling coach talked me out of wrestling in college. And he told me you're a smart kid. You just go to college. I only wrestled 2 years at that point. He's the jump from high school wrestling to college wrestling, even if it's Division III, is pretty big. So like, you're either gonna burn out, get injured. Like it's not the thing for you.
Mm.
And I listened, and I went to college, and I throughout high school I played football, I did track, I wrestled. So I was so used to being active and being part of a team and having that routine of studying and then doing something physical. I have ADHD, so I need that release of moving around and like being drained. Otherwise, I'm like bouncing off the walls. So I really miss that. So I tried rugby, I tried Olympic weightlifting. I got really into Olympic weightlifting, but nothing was the same as grappling was. And then I remember like 2007, Abu Dhabi was in New Jersey. In Trenton, New Jersey, and then I was looking at wrestling matches on YouTube. I think there was like at that time there was like a show called Real Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
So I was looking at we were trying to find one of like the matches again. I don't remember who, but I was trying to find it, and then somehow the YouTube algorithm you showed up on an Abu Dhabi match in there. I was like, what is this? I was like, they're wearing rash guards and like they can't take each other down, but like I've never seen a choke before. Well, I've seen like a little bit of MMA. I was like, this is like MMA, they're not hitting each other. So started looking into it, found out like that just happened in New Jersey.
Right.
Started looking at all the Abu Dhabi matches I could find. I saw like that Marcelo Garcia highlight of him like arm dragging and like choking everybody out. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So one of my good friends who also trains, he still trains now, he's a black belt. We started talking to each other. We're like, we should try the jiu-jitsu thing. And we're like, yeah, let's try it. And then nothing happened. And then like 2 months went by. And he called me one night. He was working at a ballet job. He was getting out of work. It was like midnight. He said, hey, I was talking to this guy, and he does jiu-jitsu. There's a tournament in a month. We should do it. There was a grappler squash back then.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? I was like, he's like, yeah. He's like, you want to compete? I was like, okay, let's do it. So we signed up for grappler squash before ever taking a jiu-jitsu class.
That's interesting.
So we found a school, we trained, we competed, we both placed in the tournament in the white belt division, and then just fell in love with it.
What was it about grappling that stood apart from football or rugby or weightlifting? Like, what was it about the actual sport of jiu-jitsu?
The actual sport is like, I really like the fact that it's you versus another person. I like the combination of like all the attributes you need to be good at it. Like you need like certain level of strength, certain level of flexibility, endurance, speed. All these things combined make you a good grappler. And then what I enjoyed the most was just the strategy part of it, like the technique element. When do I go for certain things? What is this guy trying to do? I know if I do this, he's going to do that, and then I should do this instead, kind of thing. And then like that cat and mouse game, I always enjoy that. And I've been in love with strategy games since I learned to play chess when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I played chess, and I got really into Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
and then I got like strategy video games. So like strategy and like that kind of game, like thinking about strategy and like very deeply about what the other person is doing, what I should do. It's been part of like, what I enjoy for such a long time. And when I found this outlet of jiu-jitsu where I get to spend energy, I get to be like hyper focused on something, I just get to like, release all this energy. I got pumped up, and I get to work on my technique. I get to work on strategy. I get to like, do all these things. It was just perfect.
Just multi kind of faceted, kind of just hit a lot of those check boxes, that you needed. Yes. So what about
Sorry, my dog's trying to get attention.
That's all right, man. You let the dog out there. So after you, like, what was it like? Placing at that tournament? Did that mean something to you? Did you just think, I'm a wrestler, I placed at a tournament, no big deal? Did that like fire get under you? Did you think like maybe I could be good at this, or maybe I want to pursue this more?
Yeah, no, I definitely had a lot of fun, and then there's something about when you compete in grappling and it's just you and another person. And it's been like grappling tournament, especially when it's like a grappling tournament and you go to a bracket and then there's like, 8 or 16 people there, and you have like match after match, and at the end of the day, you keep getting your hand raised, and you're like the best of like people you like somebody your same weight, same age, and it definitely like the high you get from that is it's very hard to describe, and like you don't really get it out of other sports.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Yeah, that's why I say jiu-jitsu is so addicting. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
just for me, like finding a technique, learning a technique, working and drilling it, and then being able to hit it in competition or hit it in rolling. I mean, I think it's a feeling you can't really explain to people who've never trained. I think.
Yes.
For sure. So, what did you do? Kind of like after that tournament, did you get more committed to training? Did you kind of still bounce around? What was your plan after that?
After that, we were training. What were we doing back then? At the beginning, we were like these MMA schools, a little crazy. And I remember we were there, and like we went to like a few grappling classes, and then we went to one of the grappling class, but we didn't know that was like ground and pound night.
Oh, okay.
And we got there, it was kind of like, all right, ready, put gloves on, and it's like close guard, and then it's a guy in the bottom survive for a minute. That was like the only instruction we got. I'm like,
Wow.
Didn't even know how like close guard worked yet. And I'm like, okay, like this is not a good fit for me. So we had to find another school. I did a lot of training at a judo club. There's this black belt in judo. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu at the time. He's gotten his black belt since then. He's a really good grappler. His name is David Ellis.
Uh-huh.
He's a very highly ranked national, international competitor for like U.S. judo. And he liked jiu-jitsu, so he would teach a jiu-jitsu class on Tuesday and Thursdays in the morning. And then I would do that, and I would train judo at night. The coach for the judo team, the owner of the school, he was Japanese. He was like at the time he was like a 9th dan in judo.
Uh-huh.
He was like only I think there were only like 10 outside of Japan. So it's kind of silly, but I don't think I'm here already. It was close to my house at the time. If I don't train judo right now, it's like this is the moment, like
Right.
So I got to train a lot of judo. There's two classes where we do a lot of groundwork. So there would be some missions, but it was mostly turnovers and pins. But I got a lot of experience in judo with like really high level guys.
Uh-huh.
I remember like it's very humbling, like these older guys like in their 50s and 60s that were in the Olympic team in the 80s were still training.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
I I was like, oh, I'm a wrestler, like I know how this works, and then all of a sudden like you have a gi on, so these guys are getting gi grips on you, and then you just foot sweeping you without any effort, or like you're overreaching and you're getting just launched through the air. So very humbling experience. I'm really glad I got to do that. I wish I had some high level judo nearby, but like right now, I think like the closest thing is actually driving over an hour to go back to that school where I used to train.
Oh, wow. So you got a different school you're training out of right now?
Yeah, I've moved. I used to live in New Jersey. It was when I started training, I was still going to college. I was living with my parents in New Jersey, North Plainfield. So I would drive to Cranford Judo. That was in Cranford, New Jersey. It was like 20-minute drive. Then I started training in Newark, New Jersey for a little bit, and ended up training in Maplewood and Bucks Hall, New Jersey with Kevin Sheridan. I eventually got my black belt from him. He's a Five Clemente black belt. He used to be Alliance New York at the time. They're Checkman now.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to train with a lot of high-level Alliance guys. Lucas Lepre was in the city for a while, so yeah. I used to live in Jersey City. I would take the path into the city to go train with Lucas like 2-3 times a week in the morning.
So, like, what was the path to black belt for you? How did that? Was that a goal of yours? Was that
it was definitely a goal. Like, it got to the point, like, especially early on, it got to the point where everything in my life went through the jiu-jitsu filter. It's like, I gotta pick my college classes. Like, okay, I gotta pick my classes in a way where I can train in the morning and I can train at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I gotta work. It's like, okay, I gotta fit my work in between these hours so I can still get, X amount of training in.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I got my black belt in 6.5 years. So.
6.5 years, wow.
Yeah.
When did you start training? What year?
I started training in 2007.
Yeah, so I started in like 2008. So yeah, I'm a brown belt now. But yeah, that's a lot. So did you put a lot of? How frequently did you train?
As much as I could. So a lot of for years I was doing double sessions.
Every day, 7 days a week.
Not every day, but at least we're talking man, at least like 6-8 sessions a week. And then like, doubling up. If they were like a beginner and advanced class, I would do both.
Wow.
That kind of thing. And starting at purple belt, I started teaching. So like started training even more.
Yeah.
Because I was like school all the time teaching anyway. Like that was my job.
Right.
I would teach a morning class, go to this part-time job, come back and teach 2 night classes.
Oh wow. And so that was.
I don't care who you are. Like if you're training that much, you're gonna improve. You're gonna.
Right. Was that the goal? Like, you said you were taking some classes, doing some school. So jiu-jitsu kind of started to kind of take over your life, and it was kind of the focal point almost. Is like everything was built around jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Is that when you got to that purple belt and you started teaching, were you like, all right, this is what I want to do, or I want to build my life around this jiu-jitsu thing that I'm doing?
Well, at purple belt, a lot of things were going on. I was like school. I was like finishing up school. I was going to school for exercise science,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, I really didn't like how the university was handling some of the classes, and I ended up taking a year off I was paying my way through school. I didn't want to take student loans out.
Sure.
So my parents were helping me out. I was working part-time, saving money, doing as much as I could to help out and pay my tuition. So I took a year off, and during that year, I was like saving the money, and I was supposed to go back to school, but instead of going back to school, I started inverted gear.
Okay.
With whatever money I had saved up.
So how did that happen? Why did that happen? What was the motivation for it?
So I was teaching, and one of the students started asking, "Said, hey, like we're an Alliance affiliate, so we have like the Alliance patches, but your instructor would like to rep you," kind of thing.
Okay.
So one of my students came up with a patch. Like he gave me like a few options, and then we have seen they were like obsessed with Panda Guard at the time. When you sit up and wrap around like your feet and ankle, or like the person standing. So I hit it in tournaments a few times. They were going crazy. So they're like, we need a patch with a panda. And we saw a picture of like an upside down panda, and then like very bold on inverted guard was like big at the time. So we're like, oh, jiu-jitsu panda. So I remember that as my friend said, hey, like here's a picture. Can you just draw the panda? Like same pose as this picture. And he did it, and we made some t-shirts in a local shop that were terrible. And we started wearing to tournaments. We had like patches and t-shirts, and people kept coming up to me and say, hey, where'd you get that t-shirt? And I was like, I made it. It's for my jiu-jitsu school.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, can I buy one? I was like, what? It's like, dude, like has my name on it. Like, you really want the shirt? It's like, yeah, that panda is so cool. I was like, okay. Like, so I sold whatever, like made 50 shirts. I sold 50.
Yeah.
And one of my students is like, dude, we should make gis with the panda on them. And I was like, that'd be cool. So I started looking into it. I had read 50-hour work week. No,
yeah.
50-hour, 4-hour work week.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss.
Like, all these Gary Vaynerchuk books, like Crush It and Think Economy. Like, I really wanted to start my own business. I always thought it was going to be a jiu-jitsu school, but ended up falling into this manufacturing business. And so I knew about Alibaba, so I started looking for factories. Reached out to 10 factories. 4 factories didn't even bother getting back to me. 2 told me like my order of 100 was too small. So I had to came down to I had to make 100 gis.
Okay.
I had I think 40 students at the time. So it was like no way I was gonna sell these 100 gis to my students, So I was like, okay, like maybe we just get rid of Nelson Puentes Jiu-Jitsu. I make a brand and I'll sell a few to my students and then I'll try to sell the rest online.
Right.
So I put on my, we came up with this design. The same guy that did the logo helped me out. People started throwing ideas around on my friends were like, what they would like in a gi.
Yeah.
So we designed the very first gi. We sent these awful design drawings. They were terrible. No offense to my friend Steve that helped me out. But my wife, who's a designer, when she saw the original file, she almost had a heart attack.
Oh my god! What was so bad about it? Was it like
this is why you have to make all these samples because the factory doesn't know what you're talking about.
What was so bad about the design?
None of us had a background in design, so it was like a step above us doing MS Paint. and drawing squares. It's like this logo here.
It's like
I'm
pixelated.
like no measurement of like oh put this on this. I like 4 inches big, this far from the shoulder. No, it's just like we just threw it on, and the factory's like, okay, where do you want that? How big? And then like, oh, I actually have to tell you this thing.
Yeah, that's right. Specifics.
Yeah, specific. So my wife has an attention to detail. She was my girlfriend at the time. She helped out a lot early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we somehow, me and my friend fumbled through this. Made the geese. One factory was like we thought was better than the other samples we got.
Uh-huh.
Went with that one. Put my life savings to pay for half the order. It was like 100 geese. I forget how much. I had like $6,000 saved up that I was supposed to play for like one of my semesters in college, and then my parents got the other one. So I threw that money into these geese. Ordered 50%. No idea if they were able to pay the second half.
Yeah.
So put the money down. Made a website. Made a Facebook page, and started promoting. And orders started coming in.
Uh-huh.
I remember like the first order was from New Zealand. And then like my first thing was like I was excited that I sold the gi, and then I was like terrified. I was like I have no idea how international shipping works.
It's pretty expensive, probably.
Yeah. So I went from there. So I was still living with my parents. So my parents' basement was the original warehouse.
That's how a lot of those stories start, though, man.
Go ahead.
That's how a lot of those stories start. Was building out your parents' basement.
Yeah. So that lasted until I think the fourth order. Then we were like north of 250 geese at that time, and then like when we were at 250, we're like barely squeezing in. And then at the beginning we were doing pre-sales. We eventually got out of the pre-sale model, and you just kept growing little by little. Now 6 years later, we're still here.
Well, how's the company now? How's it grown? Have you expanded to different things?
Say that again?
Have you expanded to different things, like doing, you're doing gis, you're doing also rash guards and other like shorts and things like that?
Yeah, like t-shirts, hoodies, rash guards. I really want to make a backpack. We're working on it. We have a few samples. More no-gi gear. We're making more shorts, more rash guards, spats.
What's the motivation like now? Like as far as from a design standpoint, what do you like to see on gis or on jiu-jitsu specific clothing? What's your motivation?
First and foremost is kind of clean design, not too much. I don't like making a gi that looks like a NASCAR car, like patches everywhere, and like then people don't have the room to put their own academy patch on it. We like to keep it simple. We like really high quality, lots of reinforcements, good stitching, both in like the rush shorts and the shorts and the gis, and just stuff like I would like to wear. Here and there we get like we make something a little bit crazier, but we try to keep it lighthearted. We try to keep it fun. Long time ago we realized we have like an upside down panda as a mascot. Like we're never gonna make anything like badass or tough looking.
So it's
like that's
more,
just not us.
Yeah.
When we started the companies, one of the reasons I started was remember like when Affliction and Tap Out were everywhere.
Yeah.
So there weren't that many jiu-jitsu companies at the time. And the ones that were started going towards the MMA route, and like towards that side, like tough guy kind of thing. And like it didn't connect with me because most of the jiu-jitsu people I know like look like accountants. Like if you saw them on the street, you wouldn't know this guy is a badass,
Right.
So I thought there was a disconnect where like what people wanted and what companies were producing. So we're like, let's make gis with like this silly panda on them, and people liked them, and like it was like completely different than what everybody else was making. Also, like back then I think there were 10 American brands. Now there's upwards of 100.
Oh wow. Yeah, there's a ton of gis out there. What do you think sets your gi? I'm sure it's a question you get asked all the time. What do you feel like sets your gi apart? Just is it kind of the design? Is there anything particular?
I definitely, if we didn't have that panda logo, I don't think we would be as popular, for sure. that definitely makes it stand out. It's different. It's different than what a lot of other people are doing. The gi I think is very high quality. Um, People like with gi bags a lot. I remember like back then a lot of companies make these gi bags. They were so small that once you got the gi out, like you have to be like an origami master to get it back in.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is dumb. I was like, I don't care if it costs more money. Let's just make a gi bag big enough that I can put my gi back in it.
Right.
You know? Especially like I'm a big guy. We're like 8'3s. Like I was like I was struggling to put this in. Like I can't imagine what it feels like folding an A5 back into one of those bags.
So I've seen some of your like on BJJ HQ and some stuff like that. How did you? Is that something that's really helped your business along? Because I mean, a lot of people seem like they get on those those deals and stuff. It seemed like brings a lot of attention.
Being in BJJ HQ has definitely helped us grow. We've been working with them since the very beginning. I remember like at the beginning we were like we did a lot of pre-sales and then we were like 200 gis and then eventually I had like 70 gis left. And then I was like, hey, like, I have 70 gis, like, this is like odd sizes, or like, I have like 5 A2s left, and like 1 A1, stuff like that. And they're like, okay, we'll take them. And then like, we'll put them up, and they would sell out in 3 hours.
Yeah, people always, from what I see, like on the comments, people always seem to be waiting or looking for the inverted.
Yeah, I mean, and we, like, that's the thing too, is like, it's a good thing, but we do have people that will only buy your stuff through BJJ.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's kind of like got the foot in the door in a lot of academies.
Yeah.
Like there's like the BJJ junkie in the gym, and then he will start wearing our stuff, and then like, oh my god, where do you get that gi? And then like somebody else at the academy will buy it.
I think that's exactly actually it's a great point because I know. Obviously, I saw your all stuff, but we didn't have anybody in our gym. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't see a lot of people with your with inverted gear. Now we've got some people wearing it, and I didn't see it before, so I think those people got it through BJJ HQ, and so yeah, definitely get your name out for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they like your stuff, they'll be probably willing to pay. Get on your website, willing to pay what if it's a good gi, good quality stuff. Yeah, I mean, do you have any new ideas coming up? I mean, is there anything new you're releasing besides the backpack?
Any new ideas coming up? We have some more shorts. We want to make like shorts with like the built-in spats.
Oh, that's cool.
I like those. We made. I just got a tattoo, and my friend does Jiu-Jitsu as well. The guy that did it, and like I really want him to make a rash guard with his artwork on it.
Oh, that's cool. So
it's gonna be like the arms and the back, so it almost looks like a panda, like how like the arms are black and then like the upper portion of the chest is black. So there's like gonna be like a lot of tattoos in that area.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he's working on it, stuff like that.
So yeah, as you've kind of progressed to black belt, with putting, since you said 07, so it's been about 11 years you've been training or so. How have you dealt with your body kind of getting a little older, and have you dealt with recovery and staying healthy?
Well, the first like 6 years I was on my early 20s, and I didn't have to do anything. And I was like, I was the guy in the room that I would get out of things, or I would fight throws and get thrown really hard trying to defend, and like, the old guys in the room would just shake their head at me. It was like, okay, like, you can only do that for so long. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. And then I remember when towards brown belt, it started catching up to me. And I started getting a lot of rib injuries, a lot of shoulder injuries. My MCLs on both knees were really bad. So brown belt and early my black belt, I dealt with a lot of knee injuries. Until like 2 years ago, my friend Matt, Curly, he went to like an FRC certification, and then he's like, oh, it's like, go ahead.
You said FRC?
Yes, FRC, functional range conditioning.
Okay.
Like Dewey Nielsen and what's the other guy?
Look it up. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that.
So, well, he started running through all these drills, and especially like the hip drills, I had like a really hard time. Like I had really bad internal hip rotation, which I didn't know. Like, I thought it was fine. My hips were fine. I was just like, oh, my hips are fine. Like, my knees are the issue. And he's like, no, your hips are so tight that your what's the word? Like all the like your knees doing all the work pretty much.
Yeah, you're
Is there any
basically
torque?
yeah.
Yeah, it's compensating. So if there was any torque on my leg, like my hip should be able to like rotate inside, but like since my hip was so tight, it wasn't, and then like all the torque was going right into the MCL, and that's why I kept spraining my MCL. So he's like especially with like 90-90 stretch and like all these like hip rotations and like cleaning up my hip, and it's like night and day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, so yeah, hip mobility is so important in jiu-jitsu.
But like we never work on it. Like nothing. I mean, it's like a secret. Like no one knows. But I know a lot of jiu-jitsu guys have like hip issues. But like they're like, oh yeah, I have bad hips, and they're like, I think a lot of jiu-jitsu guys fall into this attitude of like, yeah, this is my bad shoulder. Oh, we're drilling Americans today. Oh, be careful, that's my bad elbow. Like, dude, that's been your bad elbow for how many years? Like, are you doing anything to make it better?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think
so. My sister is a physical therapist, so like, whenever I got injured, she was like, well, first of all, she was like, you need to stop doing jiu-jitsu. You're barely gonna be able to walk in a few years, and then she would show me a few drills, and I would work on them. So, she's been helping me out. She's helped me through some injuries, but man, lately I've been doing a lot of. I've really been taking care of myself. Like I'm 31 years old now. I know it's only gonna get worse. Like my recovery is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with the hip issues. With like all the hip issues are better. Last thing I've been dealing with is I injured what's it called? AC joint in the shoulder, right?
Yeah. Did you like land
my
on
AC
your shoulder?
joint a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And last time I injured of all things, I was getting a Bravo choke, like a DARS.
Yeah.
And I was like fighting out of it. And something just popped on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And it was bad. And it took a long time to come back. But then it healed enough where I could roll. But if I retracted my scapula, it would feel like the tightness. And then if I hung from a pull-up bar, I should if I let my shoulders really hang, it would pull and it would really hurt. So that took a while. That took a long time to heal, and I'm finally able to just let myself hang from a pull-up bar again. I just set up a home gym. I've been living here for like a little over a year. I finally set up a home gym in the basement, and I got a pull-up bar, and I've just been hanging from the pull-up bar every day.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of what's it called, the numeral rotations. Just the bad boys.
Yeah, it's rotating.
Working to my range of motion and just cleaning everything up, and that and hanging from the pull-up bar is like night and day. My shoulder's so much better. I've been doing a lot of rowing too. I think that's helped. Just pumping blood in there.
Yeah, it's for posture. Getting out of the jiu-jitsu posture, the rounded, posture.
Yeah.
Like with me, and that's what I see at the gym all the time. Myself being a physical therapist, I see all the time that it's almost like the jiu-jitsu, quote unquote jiu-jitsu posture. It's just so man. I mean, we sit all day. We sit to eat, we sit to drive, we sit at work. When we do jiu-jitsu, we're always closed in and just getting in that posture. It's almost like, I think from a neurological standpoint, like our brains almost don't want to allow us to open up, to kind of stretch, to open ourselves up, just because it's not natural. In jiu-jitsu, that's not natural.
Yeah.
You don't open yourself
up. I remember
up.
the one thing also Matt got me started doing was stretching my hands and fingers.
Yeah.
Like I play Spider Guard. I don't play Spider Guard anymore. That's another thing I did for my recovery. Is like, okay, I need to stop playing the grip dependent game.
Right.
It got so bad that I remember I was like 26, 27, and I didn't own a single shoe that had shoelaces.
Oh wow.
Because I was like, I don't want to tie my shoes. I was wearing like Sanux all the time and like slip-on shoes. Right. So I was like, my hands are so bad. Like there was always like one of my fingers was jammed. Yeah. My thumb is like shredded. I don't think I have any ligaments left on it. And I remember what I was doing. I think I had to do something. I had to get fingerprinted.
Oh yeah.
So I went to the biometrics appointment, and this lady is like trying to fingerprint me. She's like, "Okay, relax your hand." I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Relax your hand." I was like, "I swear, that's as relaxed as it can be." She's trying to like fingerprint my claw. Yeah. And then she's like, you have the hands of an old man. I was like, oh. So I've been working a lot on stretching my hands, and I do feel much, much better.
Yeah. Is there any specific exercises that you do to stretch your hands? Is there anything like?
Just I've been working. I'll do the kneeling. I've been kneeling.
Yeah.
Like kneel and stretch, and then put my hands fingers facing forward, and then put my hands flat, and then just keeping my fingers down. I'll raise the palms.
Right.
and then like work on that, and then like a little bit of sideways motion towards the index, and then a little bit of sideways motion, lifting my palm, or like putting more pressure towards the pinky side or the finger side, and then what do you call seal walks? So like now my fingers are facing in, and I'm doing this motion on the ground.
So kind of stretching the forearm almost, or the front if your palms are facing
forward. A lot of like the forearm stretch.
Yeah, it's great for recovery. It's a funny story. I don't know if you can see my finger, this middle finger right there. Actually,
it's nice and fat.
I tore this sucker in a tournament about 3 months ago, and I've worked on it. It's still swollen, still hurts like crazy. And these joints really are notorious for being really tight and painful if you tear a ligament. So I actually went to the doctor today, and I was like, man, I need a cortisone shot. And he gave me a cortisone shot, and it sucked terribly. So he stuck a needle. I can't
imagine like the needle going in there.
And the joint is like so small, and they're putting all this fluid, all this cortisone in there, and it's like the thing blows up. So now I'm just like, it's getting better, but fingers, man. So that's what I was gonna lead into. Are you avoiding any kind of because of your knees? Is there a certain type of guard that you avoid now? I know De La Riva guard is something a lot of people avoid with knee injuries.
No, my knees are a lot better. I've been doing a lot of training with Raleigh Bodycom for the last almost 3 years. So I've gotten pretty deep into the leg lock game, and the guys at my gym like leg locks. So I do a lot. I'm like in a lot of leg lock battles, and since I cleaned out my hips, I'm like super confident on that stuff. I competed in Sambo a few times. I'm super confident on like throws and takedowns again.
Yeah.
I've got to here and there, like I aggravate my MCL. A lot of times it comes from me just being a knucklehead and going for like dropping to my knees too fast, and my weight just shocking a little bit, and like that aggravated the MCL a little bit, but it's been better. I was laughing. I was like, I went snowboarding. My wife's pregnant, so we went like snowboarding one time this year. Last year we were going like 2-3 times a week, and I was trying to get her attention. She was like, we were like trying to meet up, and I was like I had my foot off my snowboard, and I was like kind of skating towards her, and I wasn't paying attention. And my right foot with the board went down the slope, and I was like planted on the left foot, and it just dropped down. So like in complete internal rotation, my knees hit the ground, and my hips are like, and I'm like, oh my god! Like I'm so glad I've been doing all these stretches. Otherwise, I would like shredded everything on my knee.
It's a funny story, man. It's kind of one of those things like that a lot of times jiu-jitsu guys will get injured. We had a buddy that got injured towards his meniscus, and it wasn't even a jiu-jitsu. He tore it I think he might kind of tweaked it, but he was in his yard and he got up from kneeling and like tore his meniscus. It was crazy. And I don't know. I think a lot of people knee injuries are pretty prominent. I think you have to pay attention more, I guess, how you do things, maybe not avoiding certain things or knowing maybe when to let go of certain positions.
For sure. I mean, I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't had any major surgeries. I've been training for almost 11 years now, and actually I'm going to have my first surgery. I've broken my nose way too many times, and I can't breathe. My left nostril is completely blocked off. I have deviated septum, all the oral cartilage in the nose completely collapsed. So they have to go in there and clean all that stuff out. And that's going to be the first surgery I have. I've been very fortunate. My ACLs are fine. My MCLs are the only grumpy ones. But ever since I cleaned out my hips, I'm doing a lot better. But yeah, I mean, if you train jiu-jitsu long enough, knee injury or shoulder injury is going to happen. It's just whether it's going to be a sweep and you're not ready for it, or either I see a lot of injuries like knee cutting. It's like your knee cut in, and then somebody just twist their hips the wrong way, and then you can go with it. Man, a lot of I know leg locks get a bad rap, but I've seen more knee injuries from lockdown half guard than I've seen from leg locks. I worse ones.
Yeah. Do you as far as the leg lock game? Do you is that something that you've kind of jumped onto, been kind of, because I know people were kind of fighting the whole leg lock, the way leg locks were progressing. They didn't like leg locks. How do you feel about leg locks now as part of, I think, a bigger part of jiu-jitsu now than it's been because of popularity?
Oh yeah, it's definitely more popular than ever. I never mind them. I remember going Naga was the one tournament that would allow them. I remember going to Naga so I could work on heel hooks with the schools I was at. would not allow them. So I was going to Naga, I used to go heel hook people. So I always wanted to learn, and then I remember I had in my head, I was like, I know how to do this, and then I went to a seminar, 50-50, so Ryan Hall was there.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Riley, Seth, and I remember I spent the weekend there. My wife is friends with Jen Hall, Ryan's wife.
Uh-huh.
So we spent the weekend training down there, and man, I must have gotten over 100 times. Just got heel hooked. I just got tapped over and over by Riley, Ryan, and Saf, and I was like, okay, I'm a black belt and I have no idea what these guys are doing. I really need to look into this. This is a huge hole in my game.
Sure.
So Riley had a camp. It was in October, and Riley had the first Art Dojo camp. It was in New Orleans, and I always wanted to go to New Orleans. I was like, oh, it's a perfect excuse. And me and my wife signed up, went to New Orleans, spent 3 days, and that was one of I think it was the first Art Dojo camp, so a lot of people came, and it was cool because a lot of people that came were since it was a few years ago, it wasn't really popular yet.
Yeah.
They were the leg lock guy in their gym. Leg locks were their thing, and then all of a sudden we're in a room where everybody knows what's up.
Yeah.
Everybody has a pretty good understanding, especially as the weekend progress and we work through all of these drills. Everybody, Riley encouraged everybody's hey, I understand you have an A game, but that's not the time. I want you to work on the stuff we're going over. So, the session was outside heel hook. I want you to try to outside heel hook each other. If the session was inside heel hook, I want you to just start doing this. So, we're going over what to do. So, it really ingrained, Riley's game into me.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I became friends with Riley. So, whenever he's in town, I'll go. Or whenever he flies in somewhere where we're going to drive, we'll go. So, I've been working on it for a while. Ankle locks became a big part of my gi jiu-jitsu game. Even we're not heel hooking. My tripod ankle lock, my cross side ankle lock, gotten pretty good. I won a bunch of sample matches with it. I've been working on knee bars lately. I feel pretty confident getting in and out of leg entanglements, no gi.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have my jiu-jitsu game where I'm passing guard, I'm trying to get to your back, I'm trying to get to mount, but my guard passing is pretty good. So as I progress through my guard passing progressions, I get more and more desperate to retain your guard. It's very easy for me to fall back into the leg lock game.
Sure.
And then as I'm playing my leg lock game, you're getting desperate to defend the leg lock, I can just go back to heavy pressure passing. So being able to do both works well for me.
Yeah. So, and your wife trains jiu-jitsu as well?
Yeah. My wife is a black belt as well. She's been training longer than me.
Wow.
And it's funny, my mom, when she introduces us, and she's oh, they do jiu-jitsu, blah, blah, and then she'll stop. And Hillary's a world champion. My son is not.
Yeah.
And I'm Mom, is I'm happy you're proud of Hillary, but you can cut the last part out.
Yeah. Well, what's that? So what's that like for you? I guess you share that big part of it. Is that something that you feel that you guys constantly talk about, or is that constantly something that jiu-jitsu comes up at the house? Is something y'all talk about?
For sure, it's a big part of our day. We train the same. We have a very special relationship in the way that we spend a lot of time together.
Mm-hmm.
Because she inverted gears, both of our source of income are full-time jobs. We don't have any other jobs outside of inverted gear. So we work from the house and talk to each other. Hey, you want to train tomorrow? You want to train in the morning? You want to train at night? Back when we were both competing, it's we're doing a double session today, right? So we schedule work around getting our double session in. We had a tournament coming up. It's okay, how's your weight? Do you need to cut weight? How does your food intake need to look for the week? Agree on what kind of diet we will go. Okay, we're cutting out carbs this week. When are we having a cheat meal kind of thing? So it's beautiful. I really enjoyed having that much support out of my partner, and jiu-jitsu for a long time was a very big part of my life. Over the last few years, we found we realized it was kind of unhealthy, the amount of jiu-jitsu we were doing.
Yeah.
And it was, it's not, training that hard and training double sessions all the time is not healthy for your body. So we cut down the volume. She had a pretty nasty hamstring tear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it was 4 heads of the hamstring. She tore 3 off. There was only 1 head still attached. We had to go see orthopedic surgeons, sport doctors.
Yeah.
And So she's a lot better now. She didn't have to have surgery. She had to just go to rehab. And it's funny, like snowboarding helped her a lot.
Really?
As she got to snowboarding right around the time she was like coming back. So she forced herself to ride goofy, so she would leave and have to put weight on her bad leg.
Uh-huh.
And like learning to trust that leg again.
Yeah. Well, you guys, so what's your training regimen now? I mean, so you guys are working.
I mean, my wife's pregnant now.
Yeah. I was gonna say congratulations.
Baby's coming in June, so a lot less, maybe 3 times a week, 2 times a week. I got a gym in the basement, so I've been doing a lot of rowing. I got like one of those Echo bikes, like the giant Airdyne with like that oversized fan. I love and hate that thing.
Yeah,
but I'm my cardio is great. Like, you know, even though I'm not training as much as I used to, I've been doing a lot more cardio development at home, and it's helping me out. I realized I did like all this training for years, and I did like, you know, I was very deep in strength training, but I never really got into the cardio realm and like nerding out on the cardio side of things. I was looking at heart rate and what's it called?
Like heart rate variability and all that stuff.
Heart rate variability, and then like, you know, all the nerdy stuff.
Yeah, man. There's definitely a science to it. You know, there's definitely. I think cardio's strength is, and like strength conditioning type stuff is very important. You know, for obviously for jiu-jitsu, but also injury prevention. But cardio, man, I think that's probably one of the biggest things. You know, as far as being successful at jiu-jitsu, I think that. You know, guys that have or girls that have cardio that's really, really top notch. I mean, they can wear you out. You know, and then they can get around your techniques if you're tired. So that's a huge equalizer.
Yeah, I think like one of the problems is that we always have these guys telling you, oh, it's like the only cardio you should do for jiu-jitsu is more jiu-jitsu. And like, okay, like, you know, if you're a world champion that trains twice a day and like that's the only thing to do, that's great advice. Yeah. But if you're like, you know, a dad or somebody that works full time, you get into the gym maybe 3 times a week, you need to be doing something outside the jiu-jitsu gym for your cardio.
Well, they always talk about, and this is one of my favorite examples, is Marcelo Garcia, who's obviously a freak. He's like, well, what do you do? Do you do strength conditioning? Do you do cardio? He's like, no, I just do jiu-jitsu. That's all I do. And for him, that works, but for probably 99% of people, that's not going to be enough. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like the other thing is like when a lot of times when you start pushing the pace and pushing for cardio and like going fast, that's when injuries happen.
Sure.
Especially if your body's not ready for it.
Yeah, the response and being fatigued. A lot of people get injured when they're tired.
Yes.
I think injuries occur when you're tired because you get sloppy. You're not doing the right things.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at tournaments, like there's like all these videos of like guard pulls going wrong.
Yeah,
it's like people are like tired, they're like bent over, they have like a terrible stance, so then the person jumps guard, they don't react in time, and then
that shit to me is terrifying. I mean, that could be a career-ending injury. That body weight coming in like that is.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like it's been part of jiu-jitsu for so long, but at least it's been. I used to ref a lot, and like he got banned for white belt for obvious reasons, and then having to tell white belts like, hey, stop. Is that you can't pull guard, like you can't jump guard. You can pull guard, you just can't jump into close guard. And they're like, you just flabbergasted. Like, what did you mean? Like,
like what's the difference? Yeah.
How am I supposed to do jiu-jitsu if I don't jump to close guard right away?
Well, what as far as rule sets go, you kind of touched on a little bit. You know, what do you like as far as allowing things? We'll start with that at your gym. Like, do you allow ankle locks or heel hooks? Is that something you train for white belts?
It's not my gym. It's a Hudson Moore affiliate. It's owned by this black belt named Jeremy Henderson. He's a really cool dude. I enjoy training there a lot. He's pretty open-minded. Ankle locks, knee bars. And then we'll do no gi. It's like Abu Dhabi rule set.
Right.
So everything goes, like heel hooks. A few of the guys at the gym have been taking classes from like Danaher. Riley's been to the gym. So a lot of the guys at the gym are pretty, they're pretty leg lock savvy. So it's great, like, you know, they keep me sharp. I'm fortunate enough too, I have a 10 Planet affiliate nearby, the guys at 10 Planet Bethlehem. And I've been like only training a few nights a week, and I was like covering classes at Zombie, so I haven't been able to make it over there as much as I like. But these guys that train no-gi all the time and do leg locks all the time, they're like so sharp. They're like, even though I know what's going on, I know what they're trying to do, they're like, they're just get there because they're like ahead of me. I'm like, I need to work on it more.
Sure.
So I really enjoy going over there. I like all rule sets. I like having the gi rule set, and I like having a no gi rule set because it forces me to have like a little bit of a different game. I try to keep my game no gi dependent. I mean, no grip dependent, like not have a grip dependent game.
Sure.
So a lot of half guard, a lot of like single leg X stuff. I've been trying to work on my takedowns more, and I really think like reaping is not as big of a deal as people make it seem to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, until 2007, it wasn't a big deal. The only reason reaping got taken out is people heel hooks and reaping were taken out. It was like people were getting heel hooked and reaped, and they were just not tapping to it.
Mm-hmm.
They were not defending and just letting the knees explode. And then, like, the problem with that is like that injury takes a long time to come back from.
Yes.
But I think like anything, like if you learn to defend it, it's not a big deal. Like I gone to a lot of sambo tournaments. I even went to like the sambo Pan Ams in Uruguay with Riley one time, and you see these giant reefs, and like these guys are fine. You just gotta know what to do.
For people that may not know, as far as describe kind of sambo and what's the kind of I mean, obviously there's some stand up and throws and ankle locks, things like that. What's the difference between that and jiu-jitsu and the rule set?
The rule set in sambo and jiu-jitsu prefer that they can be total victory, or kind of like how judo has a nippon. If I throw you hard enough and I remain on my feet, I'm gonna win the match.
Okay.
There's something that jiu-jitsu doesn't have. Also, I will get points for pinning.
Is that one shoulder, both shoulders?
Both shoulders down. I have to hold you down.
Okay.
I think 20 seconds you get 2 points. 30 seconds you get 4 points. If I at any point in the match I have 8 points or more, I win the match. So if I throw you for 4 points and I hold you down for 30 seconds, that's a match.
Got it. And then again, they have they have strikes. Is that correct?
A lot of people believe there's heel hooks in sambo, but there's no heel hooks in sports sambo.
Okay.
There's ankle locks, there's knee bars, there's shoulder locks, and there's no chokes, which makes it interesting.
Uh-huh.
This is for sports sambo. There's chokes in combat sambo.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. There's a difference. So they do, obviously combat sambo. They're throwing, punches.
Yes, they're throwing punches, and it's amazing because if you knock somebody out and they fall flat on their back, that counts as a throw. Like the punches and the kicks don't score at all. They're just there for you to focus on something else and then like close the distance and throw and pin the guy eventually or submit him.
Well, what do you think about combat jiu-jitsu? I mean, do you think it's pointless? Do you think it's a good transition to kind of the in-between between jiu-jitsu and MMA? How do you feel about it?
I don't know, man. I think it's kind of silly. Like like the whole slapping thing. It's like, yeah. I mean, I feel these guys are just getting cut up, or when Wagner Rocha just mounted a guy and he just like, it wasn't even slaps anymore. They were like palm strikes. Like that's
right.
That's serious. But at the same point is, why don't we just do MMA at this point?
Yeah. And
I fought MMA. I remember I was a purple belt at the time, and I remember all these guys that train MMA, I would tap them out left and right, sweep and pass the guard on the jiu-jitsu class. And then we started doing MMA, and all of a sudden they could punch me in the face while I was trying to do jiu-jitsu to them. It's a completely different game.
Sure.
Also, having gloves on, it changes things. Like, all these nooks and crannies you're used to, and sliding you on the hook in, or sliding underneath the head, underneath the chin to get your choke. Like, all of a sudden you have these giant stoppers on your hands, and it's completely different.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see the merit in it, like kind of being a go-between for some people. But yeah, then if you got somebody that's like a Wagner Rocha or a, Boss Rutan's probably the guy that you think of that had like the best palm strikes that could
bam.
drop you, man, with the liver shot with a palm strike. It's unreal. Yeah, I think there's something to it, I guess. I mean, it's if you're like a jiu-jitsu guy, like I've never really had much of a desire to fight. I mean, I could see possibly something like that, something like that, but it's
definitely an interesting option. But I think like I said, you just put some gloves on and like don't hurt each other.
Right.
But I think like jiu-jitsu people, especially if you start going like very deep down the sport jiu-jitsu
Yes.
hole, you don't realize it's like if you like I understand. There's always these arguments like, oh, sport jiu-jitsu is not going to help you in self-defense. It's like look at Ryan Hall. Like Ryan Hall is like at the time he was like he's like he started using 50-50. He went very deep down the sport jiu-jitsu hole.
Yes.
But then like there's this video of him like some drunk guy trying to pick a fight with him at a pizza shop.
Yep.
Like Ryan didn't go on the ground and pull 50-50 on the guy. He was double leg mounted and held his hands.
Well, that's the difference. That's the difference between somebody that knows jiu-jitsu and doesn't.
Just because you're good at sports jiu-jitsu doesn't mean you can do self-defense for yourself.
Right.
At the same time, the problem is if we specialize in all these very niche sport jiu-jitsu things that only work in the gi or only work if we're not attacking heel hooks because like we do like all these 50-50 things and like or leg weaving things and we completely forget our feet are out to get heel hooked. And then we try to go into the no-gi grappling game or into MMA. We're like, oh, all of a sudden, like, I'm trying to do this, but I'm getting punched in the head.
Right.
Or I'm doing, like, all these fancy leg drags and coming inside and this and that. Or, like, all of a sudden, I can get punched in the face and I got to work on, like, my 1996 jiu-jitsu where I was going to heavy pressure pass and hold down.
Yep.
It's a completely different game. And we have seen, like, the amount of jiu-jitsu guys that are crossing over into MMA, they're having, like, they're having trouble making the transition for those reasons. It's like everybody's going so, especially the gi guys going over, like Gary, like you tell him is a no gi guy, and he has his MMA debut and look great, and
right.
he has working on his striking. Ryan has his own thing going on. Hopefully he gets another fight, but
yes.
I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys now, it's like you look, it's like, I don't know if that's going to translate. And then, like, you see a lot of these, like, gi specialists, like, even, like, going to Abu Dhabi or EBI and struggling.
Right.
I can't imagine what it looked like if they were getting punched in the face.
Yeah, I agree. You've got some guys that are, I mean, look at, Brian Ortega. He's another guy who's,
yes,
triangle, I mean, a really phenomenal triangle choke. He's got, I guess, a good guillotine as well. And,
yeah, but the thing about Brian is that he actually has really good stand-up.
Yeah, obviously we saw that. That was amazing. I mean, he's a great stand-up for sure. Is there any guys that you kind of look up to as far as jiu-jitsu that you've kind of modeled your game around? Or, you said Riley Bodycomb, you said Ryan Hall.
Riley and Ryan were big influence. I was like obsessed with going upside down for a while, and that's because of Ryan was like he's doing inverted triangles to everybody, and he's a blue belt. I got to train with a lot of the Alliance guys, so Lucas Lepre has been a huge influence. Marcelo to a certain point, and I never really got to train with Marcelo too much. I was training with Fabio Clemente, who's like the other Alliance school in New York.
All big names.
So it was like a little rift there. So like I never really went to train with Marcelo. I wanted to stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Andre Galvao is somebody I looked up for a long time because he was my side. I had a similar build to Andre.
Yeah.
I mean, Andre is much bigger than me now, but when Andre was like a middleweight, we had like a similar build and similar height and body proportions.
Right.
If you look at, especially the middle and middle heavy guys in jiu-jitsu, a lot of them are like tall, like Braulio.
Right.
Or even Shandy's taller than me, So, looking for like a little shorter guy and like his passing was so amazing. I look up to Rodolfo, when Rodolfo had like jiu-jitsu, had like that first run through at black belt was amazing to see. So I'm still an airman. I still watch a lot of jiu-jitsu, EBI.
Yeah.
I really like watching Alejandro Lo, somebody I looked up to. I really like his game. It was really. I was actually at Abu Dhabi this year. We went to Finland. I'd never been to one.
Oh wow.
My wife never been to one. It was like a 10-year jiu-jitsu anniversary kind of thing. We're like,
That's
all right.
awesome.
I think we can make we can make this happen. So we went to Finland, and we had to do other stuff from Bergen in Europe. So we went to Finland. I was sitting right behind the commentator's table. I got to see all the matches, so it was cool. Craig Jones, it was really fun to watch. The guys from Jersey.
So you saw Gordon Ryan have his run and all those guys,
yeah.
And
yes.
So you guys travel a lot. Is that one of what's some of your favorite places that you've been as far as traveling?
Man, I really like Scandinavia. I really like Denmark. I really like Norway, Sweden. I think it's so cool to go to those places. I've been obsessed with like Vikings and like
Vikings,
Norse
yeah.
mythology for a long time. So going to the museums are some of the coolest experiences of my life. I made some really good friends in Copenhagen and Bergen and Gothenburg. So training is great up there. They really like the jiu-jitsu. You just gotta make sure if you don't like skiing,
Yeah.
you make sure you visit in the summer because like, oh my God, we were like in Copenhagen for New Year's one year and it was so cold. I'd never been so cold in my life. Like with the wind chill, it was like negative 17 or something ridiculous. I remember like I didn't have the right jacket either. I was an idiot. But we went back in the summer and it's beautiful. You can just bike everywhere. Such a cool city. Food is so good. I really like Japan. I've been obsessed with Japan for a long time. And I've been last 2 years we've been there. Last year in October we were there for like almost 3 weeks.
What'd you like about Japan? What about Japan was awesome?
We got the rail pass and then we just travel all over the place. Actually, we went there. Riley and a few of our friends competed in the combat wrestling. Okay. I don't know if you heard about that rule set. It's really popular in Japan. And the world champions were there this year in this little town called Honjo. Honjo City is like an hour outside of Tokyo, like northwest of Tokyo. So got to spend some time in Tokyo. We visited one of our friends there. We actually made the uniforms for the combat wrestling team. So I had to the factory just drove the balls. And like by the time they were ready, we got them shipped to Japan. By the time they cleared customs was like the day before the tournament. So I had to like go pick them up in my friend's house in Tokyo and then bring him to Honjo in the train. It's like this really crowded commuter train. I had like this giant backpack and a box with all the uniforms. Uh-huh. So we got it done, and oh man, I just love Japanese food, like sushi and ramen, and then like all like these sakayas and then yakitori, like the little steaks with chicken, the chicken liver and the chicken hearts, and like all that weird stuff.
Sounds good.
And I put some weight on, man. I was eating like way too much ramen. My wife like didn't understand. Like I was like in a ramen kick, and we were in the name's escaping right now. But the area of Tokyo we're in is like famous for the ramen restaurants. So I was like my wife was like sick of ramen, so I knew we weren't gonna have for lunch or dinner that day. So I was like, it'd be like 10 a.m. in the morning, we're like ready for the day. I was like, hey, I'll be right back, and I would like run to a ramen shop.
Yeah.
To have like ramen for breakfast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's a place we're driving. We went to Nashville, and there's a place in Nashville we like the ramen out there. So we're actually making a trip down to Auburn in the near future. We're gonna just pass through. We're definitely gonna pass through Nashville, just get a little ramen. And man, I don't know. It's something I love it. I could just eat noodles
so
all
being
day long.
in Louisville, what's your favorite college football team?
College football team? Well, we're big basketball. I'm big basketball.
You're a big basketball
UK.
fan?
We're big UK, University of Kentucky fans, but
okay.
Yeah, basketball's huge out here, man.
Yeah, like Louisville, I live near Rutgers, and they used to be in the same conference. They might still be, but like I remember.
It used to be the Big East, I think. Or
the Big East, yeah.
Yeah, Big U. People are like huge into. I'm not as big into football, I used to be a big basketball fan, but man, now just.
Okay.
All I focus on now is like jiu-jitsu, and I love still watching MMA. Watching MMA and stuff. Something I grew up watching. So.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, what about I was gonna ask you, man. So, as far as your company growing and everything, everybody reaching out, and you're kind of going overseas with the company, how do you go about getting sponsored athletes? I know people reach out to you all the time. What's something that you look for in somebody that wants to be sponsored?
This is a tough question. A lot of times, the problem was a lot of the guys and girls that reach out to you, they're also reaching out to like 10 other companies.
Yeah.
So you might sponsor somebody and they'll wear your stuff, you pay for the tournaments, and then as soon as like another offer comes in, they're like, oh, these other guys offering me stuff, I gotta go. Or we'll have people that will sponsor them before they win anything. Like we meet them, we have a good vibe, like, we believe in what they're doing, whatever, and then we sponsor them, and then as soon as they win like one big tournament, one of like the big geek companies will make them an offer, and then like they don't even tell us whether being offered. They're like, hey, I gotta go.
Yeah.
It's kind of heartbreaking to a certain extent, but like I understand it too. Like, I'm never gonna I'll never like make people sign contracts on anything. Usually it's like a handshake deal. Yeah. I'm not gonna Like, I'm not gonna make you sign a contract. Like, I'm not gonna bother suing you if you break the contract.
Sure.
You know, I'm not gonna force you to wear my gis, kind of thing. You know, and most of the time now it's either like a good friend that we know recommends somebody, or I meet him in person. A few times I go to camps or like I visit schools and like somebody has like passed my card, like armbar me, like, okay, we need to sponsor this guy.
That's awesome.
Like, that's happened a few times. Like, doesn't happen very often, but that's happened a few times.
Yeah.
Where like that guy kicked the shit out of me, and like he competes all the time. I need to sponsor him.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Well, let me get your name out there, and yeah, I guess, is there anything you look for as far as like, you know, for them representing you? I mean, obviously they need to be good at jiu-jitsu.
I remember like there was this one case. He was like a young kid. He was like a blue belt at the time. He won like everything, a blue, purple, and brown since then. But at the time, he was like really young, and he lived in New Jersey. He really wanted to be sponsored by us, but his personality or he was putting out on social media, he was being like very rash and putting like all these things that were like very disrespectful to women on his Facebook like all the time. My wife, I was like, dude, like, it's not the right fit for us. And my wife was like, definitely not.
Yeah, she was not.
Like, you know, just good quality people, man. Just they're in it for the love of the sport. I don't even care if you're like a 10-time world champion. If you're not a good person, I don't want you wearing my gear. You just help out the community. A lot of times we sponsor people because like they're helping out the community. Like, might not even compete, but like, you know, they're putting out good content. They're helping people. They teach at the school. They're running some kind of charity.
Yeah.
That kind of people is what I want to work with, not some cocky dude that thinks he's God's gift to jiu-jitsu.
Do you like, I like to ask this question too, do you like the shit talking in jiu-jitsu? Do you feel like it's good for the sport, bad for the sport?
I don't think it's good for the sport.
You don't think it is?
No.
Why not?
We're still a very small community.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, it is a sport, but at the end of the day, it's still a martial art. So there's like a certain amount of respect, respect, if you will, that needs to be ingrained in all of us. And like, you know, I'm gonna be a dad now, and I want my kid doing jiu-jitsu, and I don't want him to think like, you know, shit talking is okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun, man. It's fun having kids, by the way. You're gonna be busy for sure. So.
Yeah, my sister has 4, and I'm very close to them. We see them like once, twice a week. And I got in my fair share of practice changing diapers. So I think the oldest one is like 7 now. So I've been changing diapers for like 7 years.
You know, the one thing is, man, the difference is that it's your kid now. You can't.
Yeah. Don't return it another day, right?
Freaking out. You gotta keep them. Hey, Nelson, I wanted to ask you. Tell me about your product that you and Marshall put out, the Isolate to Dominate product. Tell me about that, and if people kind of what that's about, and if people want to get a hold of that, how can they go about that?
If you want to get a hold of it, artichokemedia.com. They can get it. It was a cool project. Marshall approached me, and I just had the idea of just making a DVD. A lot of jiu-jitsu products never really cover takedowns. And the style of passing I was doing, it was really not covered anywhere. Like the folding passes, like the sequences I was hitting to get to the folding pass from like different guards, I've never saw them covered anywhere else.
Yeah.
So we figured it was like a good starting point. And then the more we looked at it, we realized there was kind of like a theme in all the things I was doing where I was like isolating either an arm or a leg to get what I was doing. So that was like the theme of the book. It's like I'm either isolating an arm or a leg to either sweep you or pass your guard.
That's awesome. Is that a big part of your game? Kind of how you're playing now?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, my game has been very bastardized over the years. Is I wrestled in high school. I did judo. I competed in judo for 2 years. I still train takedowns all the time. Riley gave me this sambo, very big sambo influence, and I'm really Vlad Kulikov opened a school in New York. Is like about a 2-hour drive from here. And, like, I'm dying to go train with Vlad. And I'm not like your stereotypical jiu-jitsu black belt, you know. I have a lot of outside influence into my jiu-jitsu. I got to train with a lot of the Lions guys, and like I got some great jiu-jitsu, like some great jiu-jitsu instructors over the years. But at the same time, I had these amazing Olympic level coaches for judo, wrestling, and not sambo, not the Olympics, but very high level coaches on wrestling and judo and sambo as well. So I've been very fortunate to have that around me and just trying out, like, getting out of my comfort zone, getting off my butt and, getting thrown in my head a few times and getting my legs mangled to learn new things.
That's awesome, man. All right. Well, Nelson, if people want to get a gi or they want to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that?
If they want to get a gi, invertedgear.com. They'll find there. They'll find my weekly blog there. I'm really trying to get back on the horse every Thursday. Actually, Fridays it's been going up. Every Friday I have a new blog coming up. A few of the blogs I've been dealing with all the injury and mobility and all the things I've been doing to fix my jacked up body. The one blog was called The L Word, how I started training for longevity. And that's a good read. And I think it's resonated a lot with people. I got a lot of people with 90-90 stretch and like trying to fix their hips so their knees stop barking at them.
Yeah, I looked at that. It was good. It was good stuff.
At Inverted Gear, you can find it on Twitter and the Instagrams. You keep an eye out. We have some cool projects coming out.
That's awesome, man. Well, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.